Iris Ko, I have been wanting to catch up with you while the rest of the world seems to be going crazy. They are still pushing forward in Singapore with this utterly crazy legal action, this lawfare against a totally innocent woman for saying no to the whole COVID rort. It has been shown now internationally to have been absolutely misjudged, to be a misalignment, to be based on what they use, the term they use, misinformation, that this whole pandemic was wrong, and yet they are persecuting you still in Singapore for questioning it. So give us the latest update, Iris. I do always want to keep the world in touch with what you're going through. You brave, wonderful warrior woman, Iris Ko.
Thank you so much, Liz, for having me again. I do have a lot to update you with. So maybe I will start with a bit of chronology from since we left off, because since the last time we spoke, I think it was in July that there was results to the ancillary trial. So unfortunately, the judge admitted the statements regarding the police, the statements made by Dr. Jipson Quah in remand. And he did say that he was mentioned he's prepared to re-look into the circumstances of the statements if more evidence were to come to pass. So this happened sometime in July when the trials reopened after the ancillary trials. And then
I'll just stop for people who are not aware of all the background to this very important international case. Actually, we will put the previous interviews underneath this interview, but one of the reasons it's important internationally is that Singapore is testing how far they can take the limits of lawfare. And if they get away with doing this to this utterly innocent woman in Singapore, you can believe that they'll try it in other Western nations, which is why I'm asking everybody to follow Iris Ko's case and why I am doing regular updates and asking you to post this out everywhere you can. All right, so we won't go over the facts of the case. If you want to look at that, they're in interviews down below this interview. So the judge, what did you feel when the judge did that? When the judge seemed to be veering towards the government police line?
well, of course I'm disappointed. Although I would say that I am not going to comment too much about that because it's still early on in the trials. And I would say that given the information that the judge has, he's also saying that police has normally a lot of powers to do a lot of things. But well, I would say I am still optimistic and positive about the judge, and I will say more as we go along. But I am not allowed to really comment about judge or judgment. But I will just say I was quite disappointed, because of the there are records saying that the doctor met close to 2 hours with the head investigator of the police, Mr. Tan Peck Singh. So that one is a bit of a irregularity, which has not really been addressed. But of course, the judge says that if there is more evidence that comes out, he would re-look at the weightage of the statements and so forth. Okay, so this is now currently just the admissibility. That means just admitting the statements. We are at that stage.
Right. So let's just go from where we left off last time. You
Yes.
really did feel that Dr. Jipson Quah, who initially seemed to have been lent on and to have, as many humans would, been pressured and been made to feel scared, and we must all, in these globalist times, not give in to fear. He found his courage, didn't he? He was willing to stand next to you, Iris, and basically to tell the truth, even though he may have been threatened, and we don't know the full story of that yet.
Yes, so he already admitted on the stand that, in his witness stand testimony, that I really have nothing to do with it, and he was under coercion. That's the reason why he pushed me under the bus, the tank, he said. Okay, so of course, more evidence will come on, I believe, as the trials go on. So I am now going to continue with the trials, which resumed on the 28th of July this year. We had 3 weeks, okay, of this trials, and which so I've got 3 weeks to so-called a bit of update for you. But I won't update everything, but just the most important bits. So on the 28th of August, this was the second week of resuming the main trials. Okay, so we had like 11 days of ancillary trial with the Dr. Jipson's admissibility of evidence. Sorry. And now we are back to the main trial, which is starting from the 28th of July. I will give you the dates afterwards so that you can keep up to date.
And very briefly, tell us with what you are charged. Very briefly, if you can. People can look this up.
Sure. I've been charged with conspiracy to cheat the national NIR immunization records to fake vaccination status, to basically, say that these people are vaccinated when they are not, with the Dr. Jipson Quah, as well as Thomas Chua, who is his assistant. Okay, so not all my charges are with Thomas. There's only one that is with Thomas, Dr. Jipson, and myself, and is this guy by the name of Cedric Lim. Okay, which I'm getting into. The rest of the 6 charges that I have with the doctor is me and the doctor. Okay, so Thomas is not involved.
Iris,
Okay.
do you have any idea of the millions that this massive trial is costing for something that has been totally discredited across the West by studies? We are all seeing that this was a vast overreach. It just seems incredible to me that they are continuing and not aborting the trial on the grounds that there is nothing to see here. And if anything, it should be these governments who did this, who are on trial. But are you amazed at the amount of money? Have you got any idea of what they're spending?
I really don't know, but we've had almost 31 days of court trials already.
Good heavens.
That's a lot. And and you're right in saying, because as the witness goes, and we've had 3 patient witness so far, but as the witness go on the stand, you see, like, the first one, she's afraid to die. The second one is an old lady who is got multiple illness and issues. The third one's got a chronic heart problem. She's really just scared to die, right? So I just see them putting on the stand. I'm like, wow, I wonder who's the real victims. Who are the real victims in this victimless crime right now?
It's incredible. And that is not being callous to laugh, because we must all face the fact that we will die at some point. And if we give into fear, that still does not give us permission to blame somebody who simply stood up and said, no, I don't want that in my body. That does not give us permission to persecute an innocent woman. That person needs to deal with their own fear. And we all have that. But there is nothing to fear in death. And yet this is being trumped up. This is being manufactured. And I do mention here as we go into it, I'm very concerned that Bill Gates came to Singapore, because we know that the hand of Bill Gates has been behind much that is very odd, including the lawfare cases. He was implicated. I've been told he came down here in New Zealand at the time of the Baby Will trial and was talking to Jacinda Ardern, and I've only been told that in the last few months. So Bill Gates going to Singapore is very worrying, and the fact that they are doing this in Singapore and seeing how far they can push it is worrying. We must, across the world, stand with you, Iris. So, right, we've established those facts. Let's get back to the update.
Yes. And thank you for rightly pointing out, because I'm not the only one on this trial, because I believe some of the patients have been charged as well for cheating, which I found out, which I'm going to update you now as I I do this important update. So there was a so-called a star witness, okay, on the 28th of August. Now, I call him the star witness because he's the first patient witness that was put on the stand by the prosecution. And on the day that he was supposed to testify, suddenly you see the courtroom filled with reporters, right? So that is when, and somehow in Singapore, the prosecution doesn't have to really tell you who they are putting up until the very last minute. Okay, so on this day, we kind of knew that I think maybe it was one day before on the day, I can't remember, but anyway, we were informed that the first patient they're going to call on the stand, Cedric Lim, is coming. And so, as mentioned, the courtroom was filled with reporters, and I was very nervous, of course, because I do not know what he's going to say. And he's the only patient that I do not have statements of, his police statement. Okay, so, but anyway, he went on the stand, and the judge was very kind. The judge said that, told him not to be afraid and told him that even though he's a prosecution witness, his job is not to help the prosecution secure a win, but to tell him and the court what really happened so that he can make the right judgment. And he also said that he also extended a line to the witness and said, don't worry about anything. You have a direct line to me if you are if so the judge reassured him, and I believe that's one of the reasons why Cedric told the truth. Okay, so he went on the stand, and basically he said that he was under a lot of the police came to his house, right, when before taking him to the police station, and one of the police officers actually threatened to beat him up. Said, have you seen police officers beating people up? Of course, he was quite shocked and scared.
Wow.
Okay,
How did the judge react when he heard that?
he didn't say anything, and basically, and he didn't say anything. Okay, but all of us were like shocked. I mean, I was pretty shocked. Okay, and this fact only came about maybe a little bit later, after he told his what happened at the clinic, because it seems like the police didn't want to accept what he said. Okay, so what he said on the stand was this: when he went, I'm just trying to shorten it. I hope I'm making sense. Okay, so he said on the stand that he went to see the doctor because I had called him up. Okay, after he posted a very heart-wrenching message in my group. Okay, um let me just read that message to you because I think that's quite important. Okay, the message says, with a heavy heart, I have booked another Sinovac appointment to take the poisonous shot. I am very reluctant to surrender my health to the tyrants, but I have many bills to pay. My 10 over years of being 100% pharmaceutical drug free will come to an end. I have tried, and many have tried to help me find a job. Unfortunately, with my commitments, I need to maintain over $4,000 to $5,000 per month income to sustain. Most options only offered up to $3,000 per month, which is not enough for me. For the sake of my family, I have to do it. My name is Cedric Lim Jun T at Muhammad Daniel Lim. I have no underlying medical conditions, big and small, fully healthy, straight age lifestyle, and have total zero visit to any clinic or hospital for any illness. If anything happens to me, it must surely be the vaccine. So he posted that in my group, and that's when I reached out to him and I told him that there's a doctor who can give who can administer Sinopharm vaccine according to body weight of the person. Okay, so that's what I told him, and that's what he told the police as well. Okay, so subsequently he went to see the doctor, and when he saw the doctor, and this is his witness testimony on the stand, he says that when he saw the doctor, the doctor asked him, which he was very shocked, do you want a saline or Sinopharm vaccine? And so, and the doctor lay out like 2 tubes of saline and 2 syringes. And because he was really scared of needles and scared of vaccine at that point, he chose saline. He went with his wife, but he said, but my wife chose Sinopharm. And said after that, the doctor removed the tubes and the syringe and removed everything and put it behind. Okay? And then came back and gave him an injection, which he looked away because he was so scared. He didn't want to see anything. He looked away, and thereafter he was asked to wait 30 minutes, and then there was a gauze. He was given the gauze to press, and thereafter he was asked to wait for 30 minutes, and at the end of the 30 minutes, doctor came and said, congratulations, you are vaccinated. And he was very confused because he said, what happened? I thought I chose saline, but come the doctor is saying vaccinated. So he doesn't know what to make of it. Okay. So that is his testimony. But when he tried to tell the police, they didn't want to record the part that the doctor removed everything. They didn't want to record the part that he was confused. They just basically, he was under the because he was threatened with physical harm before, and so he figured that they wanted a particular story from him. Okay. And because when he went to the police station, he said at the interview room, he looked around, there was no camera, so he was really afraid of being beaten up. And there were multiple police officers during his interview, including from the lady who also went to his house. And besides threatening him with body harm, the police also proceeded to search his house, as well as threaten to search his vehicle before taking him back to Cantonment police station. So that's why he was in a lot of fear. Okay. So when he told the judge that's what happened at the clinic, okay, the prosecution then proceeded and said, permission to treat the witness as hostile. So basically, they wanted to cross-examine their own witness, okay? Because he said, your version is different from the one you gave to the police. And then that's when he started saying about the police coercion and so forth to the judge. And he said, and he basically, it looks like he was really scared, and he was telling the judge, I'm telling you this because you have extended a line to me, and and I want you to know what happened, okay?
Gosh, just while we consider all of that, anybody who has the courage to tell the real truth and not give in to coercion or bullying or threats or fear is a hero now. So
Yes.
the one thing that will save the human race, will save our freedom, will save our children's freedom, is if we can each be inspired by you, Iris, and the other people around the world who are brave enough to stand up and tell the truth, no matter the personal cost. And it will pay off in the end if you tell the truth. So I have to applaud the fact that Cedric actually did tell the truth. That is something good. So Iris, how did you feel about Cedric doing that? Did you feel the same? Thank goodness he found some courage to tell the truth.
Yeah, I was actually rather shocked because the trials have been going on for a few days, and the day when he came, I actually didn't remind anyone specifically to come, but somehow the courtroom just filled up. Okay, it was as if just like truth needed witnesses, and these people in the courtroom was there to give courage to him, and we were there, and we didn't know that he was gonna come on. Even, I mean, a lot other people didn't know. I could have known, but I didn't make a big deal. So I feel that it's all arranged by God, the universe, whatever. Okay, it's like the truth needs to be told. And when he said that, I almost cried. I was like, yeah, I don't know what he's been through the last three over years. I've been through a lot. Everybody's been through a lot, through this whole thing. And and but I feel relieved, okay, and I feel that I am glad that he found the courage to really speak the truth, what happened, despite the censorship by the police, according to him. Okay, of course, I want to say that there is two sides, and we'll be hearing from the police soon, which I will update more as well. And so so this was quite a major breaking news. The first witness by the police turned hostile. Then this will make two witnesses on the stand now that says there is some kind of a police threat inducement promised, okay, against me.
The other one being Dr. Jipson Quah.
Yes.
Yes. And I think this is so important, Iris. This is a real marker for your case, because you are consistently willing to be courageous and not to give up your ethical stance, and not to do anything other than tell Singapore and the judges and the world the truth about what went on during this pandemic. I do believe you are being looked after very much. Something really wonderful is happening here when two police witnesses cannot bear the thought of living with themselves by giving in to police bullying and having to lie. So they simply get on the stand and tell the truth. Those two men will have some measure of peace now as they grow into their old age, because they are doing the right thing, telling the truth. The police, on the other hand, if they continue to do this corruption, this bullying, this coercion, this cruelty, these policemen and women will not have that peace. And they need to think about that, because at some point they too can say no. They can say no to the government. We're not going to act like this on behalf of a government that's willing to bully and hurt its citizens. We will not do this. I'll give up my job as a police officer rather than do this. And so that's a reminder to the police, not just in Singapore, around the world. All right, let's keep going then. What happened after that?
Okay, so what happened after that is we were actually, at first we were thinking, is this going to go into another ancillary trial, right? Because the patient witness saying there's coercion. So we realized that it is because he's not an accused, so it won't go into an ancillary trial, but the prosecution would have to call the people who recorded his statements, and there will be three persons because he has got three statements. Okay, one is by the police IO, Ko Tia. Second one is another IO from the police, IO Tian. And the third one is a MOH officer. Okay, so this was where that week, the second week of trials ended.
And MOH is obviously Ministry of Health. IO is what?
Investigation officer. Police investigation officer, sorry. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now we are coming to the third week of trials after the results of the ancillary. Okay, so the third week we just passed, which started on the 15th of September. So this day was a very momentous day because I made a public I informed the court that I have to discharge my lawyer. And one of the reasons is because the Attorney General Chambers, the state prosecutors, have initiated a Section 74 and 73D of the Supreme Court Judicature Act against me and my husband. For those who do not know, what that means is that they are asking the Supreme Court to make us as vexatious litigants, so that and to pause all our civil actions except with the permission of the High Court. Okay, So basically, they want to prevent us from suing anybody, okay, except with their permission. That's what they wanted.
That is
And
utterly and unquestionably in breach of natural justice. That is
yes,
absolutely a breach of natural justice for them to even think of that as an option. In other words, they have all the power to sue and put charges, and as we've seen, possibly coerce and bully people into saying things they don't want to say, but to bring as many charges as they want. The justice system is always about the scales, so that both sides must have equal rights, and there all your rights are taken away. That is a breach of natural justice. So how did you react to that? This is horrendous intimidation, Iris.
yeah. So I told the court, because the judge wanted to hear from me about the discharge, about my counsel. So I said I wanted to explain to him as well as to the whole court what has happened. And it was very, I find it very weird, okay, that this action was taken up on the 6th of September 2025, which is a non-working day, it's a Saturday, and it coincided, okay, with the death anniversary of this lady called Jenna Ong, whom Raymond had sued because she was defaming us for years, and even though we do not know her. And the bundle from the AGC included, okay, the coroner's report about that included her dead body, okay? And basically she left a suicide note, basically blaming us for her suicide.
Well, is that proven, or is that claimed? Is it proven that she did that?
She's claiming
No,
that
but is the suicide note proven to be from
oh, it is
her, or is
proven.
it?
It
It
is
is
proven.
proven. So Raymond is your husband. Uh, can I just check how he's coping with seeing his wife being persecuted as you are being, and now finding himself persecuted, in fact?
Yeah. So he also got 12 charges recently after the Tampik Singh story broke. Okay. After 4 years of investigations, okay, the AGC still got their charges wrong. Okay. Very basic, fundamental things in the charges wrong.
AGC is the Attorney General.
Yes,
Yep.
correct. So after they went after me, they also going after him. And how does he feel? I think he is taking it in his stride. I'm very lucky that my husband is just as brave as me. And he is actually a very, he really believes in systems. He believes that he was a management consultant. So he, he doesn't really trust people, but he trusts systems in the sense like they have to still, there's certain processes, and that's where he is. He's saying that that's why he wanted to use the law to to help us to get justice, against the people who defame us, or who has been doing all these, spreading all these lies and defamation about us. So he is a systems guy, and he is still very calm, I must say.
I salute you, Raymond. I haven't met you yet, but I salute you not only for your courage under fire, but also for backing up your wife with such wonderful, calm determination. So let's get back to this case. So this woman apparently leaves a suicide note, but we don't know if the government, it is possible that the government could have fabricated something here. I'm not asking you that because
Yeah.
you don't know, but as an outsider, that is possible. But they're claiming that this woman left a suicide note, apparently blaming you.
No,
This
okay. Okay. The details of that, it's a bit complicated, right? It's in my book, right? It's on chapter 3 of my book. I have because this case it coincided and dovetailed around my activism, like the story around this woman, and I believe that uh and she has claimed, okay, that she had a 1 hour Zoom meeting with different officers from different government agencies like the AGC, Attorney General Chambers, the police, MOH, and so forth. And the meeting was to fix me and Raymond up. This was before our arrest. Okay. And she has made many of such claims. And she is an ex-police. She said that she was in the police for 20 years and she has got many police officer friends and students and so forth. And we didn't believe her, of course, at that time. And that's one of the reasons why Raymond had to sue her for defamation because of her posting in Facebook saying that there was a 1 hour Zoom between her and government officials looking to fix us up. Okay. So this is a very wild story, but if you go to her Facebook wall, she mentions the AGC many, many times. She mentions police many, many times. And I do not know if she was like an informant or anything. I really do not know. But I find it very strange that the AGC is using her suicide as one of the reasons why we have to be stopped. And 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 giving us that whole stack of documents on the anniversary of her death, okay, at best it's insensitive, at worst it's intimidation. That's why I told the court, Raymond and we have no death wish. If we are to die suddenly, please investigate, because I do not know if this is some kind of a subtle threat that if we continue we will end up like her. I really don't know, right? I have to put it out there, and I'm worried about my life. And then I went on to say there are hate groups, okay, out there in Singapore who are targeting us, and they even talk about the Charlie Clark and said, oh, Raymond should be, he's lucky he's not like Charlie Clark. And then we had to make a police report about that. And I mean, I basically just told the court and I said, given the amount of hate and the slandering and all these, and in the midst of that, AGC wants to take away our civil rights to take action, as well as, all these, the trials have emerged to show that the police officers could be targeting us, or targeting me at least, it's my trials, right? And not allowing me to sue, it's not fair justice. Okay, that's what I told the court. And of course, it was all very emotional. I will send you the link for the full speech. Okay, but I feel that their actions looks like they are trying to financial cripple me, because if I can't take actions, and one of the reasons why I have to take actions is because due to the widespread defamation by government agencies as well as the press, I cannot resume my normal life anymore. I can't go back to school to work. I can't do all these things. One of the things that I can do to seek justice is to sue the people who have been making incendiary posts and saying that, about my activism. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. But of course, maybe I'm touching on some powerful people that they don't like being touched. That's the reason why I believe, they are doing all these drastic things against me and Raymond. And it's all very, very shocking. And that's one of the reasons why I have to discharge my lawyer, because I cannot responsibly continue to ask him to work for me if let's say our lawsuits are being stopped, right? And whatever damages due to us, I can't get, and I cannot pay my lawyer. That's one of the reasons that I said to the court.
Iris, you are so courageous. If they even begin to think of doing anything to you or Raymond, we around the world would get many, many, many people questioning and seek to get it into the upper levels of the Trump administration in America as well. That would be such a backfiring for them. That would expose the government. So my quiet warning to the Singaporean government is, do not hurt or maim or or threaten the life of in any way Iris Coe or her husband, it will be very clear that it points back to you, and we will make sure this story goes really, really big in America and bring Singapore into international disrepute. So I just think if you are at that stage where you are even worried about that, it's really important that we say that. But secondly, the money. Do you need donations, Iris? Do you need donations?
Yes, I do. And this is when, okay, so they are trying to target my ability to sue in two different ways. Okay, now this is Section 74. And the other thing is that on the second day of the trial, I mean the week just passed, okay, NUS, okay, we had taken up a lawsuit against the National University of Singapore. Okay. Now, why? We sued NUS for vicarious liability because there was a Professor Ben Long who defamed me back in 2021, saying that I'm running a terrorist organization and saying that I should be locked up. So I took
Can
up.
we just remind people, this is because you said no to the jabs, isn't it?
Yes.
This is crazy stuff. This makes no sense at all.
So then he defamed me. I sued him last year. I initiated legal actions and he got upset and he went to the media. And of course the media says that, oh, he's a professor from National University and then they gave him a lot of coverage, painted him almost like a victim, and I'm like the aggressor to take on this lawsuit. Okay. So, and we wrote to NUS, the university that he's from, and they didn't do anything. They didn't make any public statement to basically distance themselves away from him. And they, so we felt that we had no choice. We sued NUS for vicarious liability. Unfortunately, it was a complicated lawsuit and we lost, and we were awarded, and the judge asked us to pay NUS 33,000. Okay. Now, the other reason why I sued NUS is because from my own research, okay, National University of Singapore, together, it's called Duke Medical. They have a branch called Duke Medical, together with EcoHealth Alliance, as well as the Wuhan Institute of Virology. There are documents from the Project Diffused that has come out that says that they could have been involved in the creation of the COVID-19 virus itself. And I am going to ask NUS to tell the public whether this is true or not, because this is what I have this information I received from the documentary Thank You, Anthony Fauci, as well as what has been reviewed around the world regarding the gain of function research that's happening in Singapore at NUS. That's the reason why I have to take action. So on the 16th of September, while I was in court, this is the second day when I self-represented, I was sitting at the cafe, and then Drew and Napier lawyers, which represents NUS, they send court documents to us sitting at the cafe and said I have to pay up this 33,000. If not, they will bankrupt us basically. And once we're bankrupted, we will not be able to sue freely, right? So they are trying to come at us at multiple angles. Of course, the Section 74, I'm dealing with it, and by right, based on that section, because it's so drastic, the state needs to give us a lawyer for free if we're in financial situation, a difficulty. So we are applying to get a free lawyer by the court. We have to fill up some documents and so forth. So I am looking for a few things. Okay, one is of course support to pay the 33,000. Okay, the Section 74 is not going to bankrupt us right now, but it is we got to deal with that application by the government, which in our view is rather hard for them to succeed. Okay, but we still need legal advice. But Raymond seems quite confident to know what to do with it. Okay, because there is a high bar. They have to show habitual and persistent actions from us, but our lawsuits are not we never make the same mistake twice. And we are actually winning our lawsuits currently, which I think that's the reason why. I mean, we are in the process of winning because Raymond has successfully struck out a few of the defenses of those people that we are suing for defamation. So we are near to major victories because when we win, those can become case files. And
they become precedents. They become
yes,
precedents in the court. The Singaporean people are so lucky to have people like you and Raymond just tenaciously and consistently and persistently taking the next step and the next step on behalf of the freedom of all people of Singapore. So I'm going to just cut in here, Iris, and say, please, across Singapore, could you put money into this account? And we will put the details here on screen. And then also, are there any lawyers in Singapore who are deeply worried about the fact that not just your country, but across the Western nations, the globalists are trying to remove our democratic freedoms? If you are worried, if you realize that if Iris and her husband don't win these cases, next it could be your head on the chopping block or your children's heads on the chopping block. So this is the point now to make a stand with Iris Coe and her husband. Please would you step forward? Contact me, liz.gunn@freenz.org. Any lawyers from around the world who'd be willing to help Iris as well with advice, please step forward and write to me, and I'll put you in touch with Iris. This is, in a perverted way, in an inverted way, this is a great compliment to you and Raymond that they're coming at you from so many levels, Iris. Because if you were weak, they wouldn't be doing that. If they weren't worried about you, they wouldn't be doing that.
yeah.
They know how powerful you are. And I reiterate, I believe you are protected from very high sources, perhaps in the world, but even beyond these earthly boundaries. There is something that is looking after you, and those who do evil to you and Raymond will not flourish in their lives. It's one of the reasons I very much wanted to follow your case. But my goodness, you are being tested. You are being tested.
So so I would say thank you so much for that shout out. Yes, I am looking for some pro bono lawyers as well as McKinsey friends and all that. But I am the other reason why I decided to represent myself is also because I do not know how long these trials are going to go. I mean, there's a total of 17 patients, right? And the first patient already said that he was coerced. I do not know how many more it's going to say that. And that means it's going to drag, okay? And if it drags, and I know one of the ways at least the Singapore government always like to do to the opponents, one of the thing is bankruptcy, right? So if I can't pay for my lawyer or I can't and if I'm bankrupted, then definitely I won't be able to take them on that well. So I don't want to and I think my lawyer has taken me through the difficult, important stages of my criminal trials, and the next few people that they are putting on the stand, at least from what I can see, are the patients that I'm not being charged with, as well as patients who have already given me positive statements via the police. Okay. That those are not being presented yet, but through the CADA application, we managed to get other positive patient statements, which I have. That's the reason why I also think that maybe I can deal with it myself, moving on, save some money, build back my resources, because it's been 4 years and a lot of my resources have gone towards legal fees and so forth. And and I think I will just deal with it, because really there isn't any much hard evidence against me, even at this stage. So so I am so so I
You're so incredible. Most people would be crying or cowering, and you are still able to give that glorious laugh of freedom. It's incredible, your example. I reiterate, Singaporeans are so lucky to have you. And maybe this is God's way of guiding you and Raymond to one day become leading Singaporean lawyers for human rights. You're certainly being trained. You're certainly being taught to study the law, whether you like it or not.
Yes, I am. And you know, and this last week I have learned how to represent myself, how to cross-examine the police, and it was very refreshing and a little bit therapeutic.
Good. Good. You are incredible, Iris. You truly are an example to everybody in how to laugh in the face of bullies, how to laugh in the face of those who want us to feel fear, and to be able to laugh at bullies. It's an incredible freedom. It's amazing what you're doing. And then to stand up and keep doing the work that's required to show up those bullies and show up the lies. It's just amazing. I ask everybody around the world, if you also can put money into Iris's account, please do put something in. $10, the price of 2 coffees, or $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, whatever you can afford. Please help this warrior woman, this world warrior woman who's based in Singapore. So, Iris, we've talked about the fact that you're going to train in law, basically, because you have to take your own case. There are benefits to that. We've talked about your need for money, but just take us through a quick summary of what else has happened during this month, September 2025. And then I want to move to what you are expecting next. So what else went on in September 2025 with your court appearances?
Well, what happened was that we established a few things, that the police were not didn't collect any important forensic details about this medical case, including they didn't offer serology tests for the patients that we are being charged with. So because a serology test would give us at least some medical evidence that these patients were not vaccinated. Okay, at least it would go towards that direction. And all the patients that I'm being charged with, they all said yes, they want to have a serology test done, but it wasn't offered to them in the end. Okay.
And just let people know how that would work for you, that this wasn't done. Just explain that in the context of the case against you for people who aren't familiar with your case, Iris.
Sure. So without this particular evidence, it would be very difficult for the prosecution to have a beyond reasonable doubt, okay, evidence to say that these people are not vaccinated. They could jolly well be vaccinated.
And the relevance for your charges. Just give us that connection to your charges then, because this is important.
Sure. So because my charges are that we want to falsify their vaccination status, say they are vaccinated when they are not vaccinated. So the serology test will basically give us the proof that they are really vaccinated. Or at least, that's how you get a positive serology test. Is either from an infection from COVID or from actual COVID vaccination.
Yes.
So,
it's really important, this, because 2 facets to that. The police must prove the case in a criminal case beyond reasonable doubt. That is an absolute standard of proof. And that means that there is zero doubt at all that you did what they're charging you with. And they cannot meet that standard with such poor evidence, which they haven't properly collected. So this is a case for people to begin to follow. What else has happened in September, and when can people follow your next stage of your trial, Iris?
Sure. So, we're only going back to the courtroom next year. In between, there's going to be a 3-month recess while the prosecution, while we have some, pre-trial conference and all that. I think the prosecution may re-examine their position. I do not know exactly what's going to happen, but I will go back to the private conference in October 8th, and then we'll set the dates for the trials next year based on the, they probably have to evaluate and see what has transpired in this whole 9 months of trials to see how they want to continue, basically. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing if the patients go up and and they all turn hostile. So I think it's important that they also reevaluate their position and see what they want to do, It's, yeah.
It may be a wise idea for them to abort the case, to
Yeah.
say,
Especially when there's so much, things that's coming up internationally to say that, it was dangerous to begin with. Why do
yeah.
people have to take these experimental injections in the first place? Right. And I really hope that we can really start healing the divide and start healing as a nation. Um, Maybe this case doesn't have to go the way that it was. Now that as more evidence comes out around the world, as well as with evidence from my trials, that the prosecution can relook their position. I mean, I'm not trying to but I think it's so in the good of public interest that at the end of the day, people still want to have trust in our police. They still want to have trust in our in the laws, as well as and so forth. And if it's not going to help their case, I hope they can just drop things.
Well, absolutely. They need to take account of the fact that it's going right up to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is questioning and telling the world that this COVID vaccine, it's not looking good for the mRNA technology or the COVID vaccine, that the studies that are coming in are not in favor of it having been either safe or effective. So as more and more and more of these studies are coming out, I'm afraid to say that the case in Singapore against you and Raymond and Dr. Jipson Quah is going to look more and more shaky and insubstantial. And then there's a very short step to it looking faked and pushed together, which isn't a good look for the police. So as you say, for their own credibility, they need to seriously consider now simply calling an end to this pursuit of you both. That would be, from what you've told me and from what I've been seeing of it, that would be a very logical conclusion. Can we mention, Iris, before we finish this, the book that you
Yes,
have put up? Because I would like people to buy your book and follow it. It's another way to help you financially, and it's a really interesting story. So just talk briefly about your book.
sure. Okay, so my book is called The Silent Roar, A COVID Awakening in the Lion City. It is actually this is the first release. It's from events that happened a little bit before my activism up till August 2021, because there's so much things that's already pretty thick, and I intend to release some more, up to my arrest. Okay, so the Silent War will be a compilation of events up to my arrest. And and I think and also it flashes to the present day, National Day, what happened and so forth. And I've got a lot of important stories inside, including the 12 doctors, how 12 doctors in Singapore actually stood up and wrote a letter. And I believe that's the reason why we got offered the China vaccines as an alternative, not just the mRNA options. And I talk about how I started my journey and what led me to speaking up, as well as it's a book on how ordinary people can find the call, to answer the call of conscience, as well as to do what they need in these very trying times. And I truly believe that humanity is going through a very huge shift in the world, and every one of us is called to do our parts. You don't have to be like me, but everybody has a part to play. Just like you, Liz, you're doing a great part in your part of the world. And I truly believe that all of us got to be Davids in this versus the Goliath. And that's how we're going to save the world, is by everybody, just doing their parts and being brave.
Beautifully said, and I think your book will really inspire people into that. Just your mention of that China vaccine that you had, could you elaborate on that? Are you saying the China vaccine did not have mRNA in it? What are you saying
Yes.
is the difference?
Well, there is the Sinovac and Sinopharm in Singapore. They use the killed virus technology, according to reports. I'm not vaccinated, but basically, the 12 doctors, they wrote a petition to the Singapore government. At that time, only mRNA was considered for the public. But after the letter by the 12 doctors, there was a quiet move to allow the China vaccines in Singapore, and we believe that's one of the safer options.
In what way is it safer? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, because it is used more the traditional killed virus technology and not the mRNA. These China vaccines, officially they don't have mRNA in them.
That's really, really concerning that we were given in New Zealand, we were given Pfizer right across. So many people are sick. In our Christchurch hospital, there was a story just yesterday saying people are dying in the corridors of the hospital. It's a waiting time now of 8 to 12 hours in our emergency departments. We've never seen so many unwell New Zealanders, and our government is speaking nothing about the damage done from the Jacinda Ardern years when those poison Pfizer shots were forced on so many people who wanted to keep their jobs. The same thing that happened there in Singapore, the same bullying, the same brutality. It was very hard to stand up and say no. So these are the times, Iris, in our interviews that we show people across the world that what's happening is lockstep in all our countries. It's being orchestrated from the UN and from the globalists. It's to do with the Agenda 2030, the reduction of population that Bill Gates wants. His father was a major eugenicist, which means they believe in culling the numbers of people in the world. So these are things for people to research. We can't go into everything in our interviews. But what's your advice to people who want to look more deeply into what's going on in Singapore and look more deeply into the world situation? Where do you suggest when people say, Iris, how can I learn more about this? I've just wandered into your court case and I'm shocked at what I'm seeing. I'm shocked at the potential corruption that might be happening. Where can I begin my research? What do you say to those people, Iris?
Well, I think there's a lot of truth movement around the world. Okay, find somewhere in your country that has got somebody that is speaking up, and usually that person will be targeted by the government.
Absolutely.
If they're not targeted, they are probably not that real.
And and the government and those people who've sold out, who go after them to try to, who've some in many cases, I think, taken money to be defamatory and rude, and also government bots. There are trolls that are
Yeah.
mechanized bots to try to put horrific statements of lies online. So when you see someone being targeted, you can pretty much know they're a good person, not
and,
the
and
opposite.
and and also not just to believe what you see, because I believe that a lot of forums like Reddit and like even social media, they have this what you call the paid bots. In Singapore we call them the Internet Brigade, okay, IB, right? And I absolutely think that this IB, or there is a concerted effort to manage online conversations by the governments of the world. So they would pay people to go in and just downvote stuff in Reddit and download things. So be very, very discerning and do not trust anything. That's
Yes.
what I would say. Do your own research. Do not trust just because somebody says so, just because it's an authority, just because so and so, because and the other thing is popularity is also another thing. Don't just believe something because majority believes it, right? You really have to find your own answers and look for evidence, just like a judge. You have to behave, you have to be very discerning, and and double check the information that you have. And like I say, the people in every country, there are some who are standing up to it, and they are usually the ones being targeted heavily by their government. So look at
They
what
are
they're.
the ones you can trust. They are
Yes.
the ones you can trust. And I'll tell you one other thing, as someone who used to read the 6 o'clock news on mainstream TV years ago, before I realized how dishonest it was and left. Don't trust legacy media. Do not trust what used to be called mainstream media. It's no longer, it's collapsing now because most people are turning off the nightly news on what was mainstream media. So don't believe the newspapers that lie about Iris. That's a big warning to people too.
I want to say one more thing. You see, there's a collective shift from corporatization of news, corporatization of truth, corporatization of information to decentralized information. People like you and I, right? That we don't have, but truth can't be stopped. Truth can't be censored, and that's the reason why it is important for more and more people to speak up, because then we will inform other people about the truth network.
Yes.
Truth.
I love that. The truth is like a lion. It will just find its way to roar out eventually. They can't crush it. So, Iris, when are you next in court? And we'll just finish with how people can help you, reiterating that. When are you next? You said in about 3 months. Is that correct?
Yeah, likely going to be in January next year. We haven't finalized the dates, but and I'm glad to have this 3 months rest, okay, to deal with my other lawsuits. But yeah, so I have a buy me a coffee link which I'll send to you, and they can get the book from there as well. And it's going to be in Amazon, and I may need help with the Amazon thing because I want to be, if I can try to be a best-selling author for 1 week. And
Wonderful.
I will send you the link of that, and then people can buy the book around the world. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Iris Coe, it's always a delight to talk to you. And please reach out if you need any support or any more coverage or exposure. We are always here. And there are many New Zealanders who like you very much, who trust your voice, who enjoy listening to our conversations, and who I think will also buy your book and possibly donate money to help your cause. But wonderful to hear from you. And please give Raymond, your brave husband, my very best wishes too, Iris.
Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you for this interview. Thank you for your time.